David Robertson took a deep breath, leaning back in his chair, staring out over the quiet neighborhood that had once felt like the embodiment of peace. Sterling Meadows was supposed to be the kind of place where dreams came true, a quiet, affluent subdivision on the edge of town, where the lawns were perfectly manicured and the neighbors waved as they passed by. We had our house built from scratch 5 years ago. I had just been promoted to chief of police, and my wife, Amelia, had just made partner at her law firm. It was one of those moments where you feel like everything you've worked for is finally paying off. You know, the kind of moment when you look at your wife and say, "We've made it." But the thing about success is that it attracts attention sometimes, unwanted attention. Amelia and I stood there that day, on the muddy patch of land where our dream house would rise. I could hear the sounds of construction around us. Leo running around like a whirlwind, his tiny feet kicking up dirt as he chased butterflies. That was the start of it all. We dreamed big, wanted light, space, and for me, more than anything, a pool. Not just any pool. I wanted an oasis, a sprawling saltwater infinity edge that would make you feel like you were floating on the edge of the world. And that's what we got: a masterpiece with a cascading waterfall, a Baja shelf for lounging in shallow water, and a spa that heated up to a perfect 104 degrees. I couldn't wait to dive into it after a 14-hour shift. It was my escape. After dealing with the worst of humanity on the job, that pool was where I washed it all away, where I felt like I had earned something just for me. And that's when I first saw her. Carol and Albright standing at the edge of her property, where our meticulously manicured lawn met her overgrown one. She wasn't doing anything but standing there, watching me. Her eyes were fixed on my pool, and there was something cold, calculating in her gaze. I waved, trying to be polite, but she didn't wave back. She just stood there for what felt like an eternity, then turned and marched back to her house. I thought it was odd, but I didn't think much of it. People were curious, right? My pool was a bit of a showpiece, I guess. But a week later, it happened again. This time, Amelia and I were out there teaching Leo how to do a handstand underwater, and I looked up to find Carol standing even closer, right at the edge of my property. This time, she wasn't just watching. She was scowling, arms crossed tightly. Amelia called out, "Can we help you?" Carol didn't answer. She just gave a little hump sound, like a judgmental grunt, and then marched back home. Amelia looked at me, confused, asking, "What's her deal?" I shrugged it off. Maybe she's the neighborhood watch and thinks my swim trunks are indecent. But something inside me, the cop part, couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't just curiosity. No, this felt like surveillance. It felt possessive. Over the next month, I couldn't escape her presence. She was always there, no matter what I was doing: skimming leaves, Leo and his friends splashing around in the afternoon, or even when the pool lights came on at night, casting an eerie blue glow over the water. She just stood there, watching, silent, like she was waiting for something, or maybe claiming something. And that's when it started to click. For some people, my paradise was an affront, a symbol of something they didn't understand or something they felt entitled to. I'm a cop, so I know how to handle conflict. I'm used to dealing with threats and de-escalating situations. But Carol's presence? That wasn't normal. She wasn't just a quirky neighbor. She was a problem, a serious one. It wasn't long before she crossed the line. A blistering Saturday in late July, I took the day off. I'd earned it grilling burgers, drinking a cold beer, and floating in the pool, my sanctuary. Leo was at a friend's house, and Amelia was at a charity luncheon. It was supposed to be a peaceful day. Then I saw her. Not at the edge of the property, not peering through the hedge. No, she was in my pool. Fully submerged, up to her neck, wearing an ancient, frilly one-piece swimsuit and a bright pink swim cap. She was just floating there, by the waterfall, smiling serenely, as if she belonged there. I stood there, dumbfounded, beer in hand, trying to process what I was seeing. And then she opened her eyes and smiled at me, like we were old friends. "Oh, hello there, David," she said, her voice dripping with sickly sweetness. I walked over to the pool, trying to keep my voice level. "Carol, what are you doing in my pool?" "Oh, it's just so dreadfully hot today, and this lovely pool was just sitting here, looking so inviting," she said, paddling her hands through the water. "I didn't think you'd mind." "I do mind," I said, my voice cold. "This is private property. You are trespassing." "Oh, don't be so formal. We're neighbors, after all," she said, shrugging. This magnificent place, it's really meant to be shared with the community, don't you think? It's a bit much for just you. The word stung, but I didn't let it show. This home and this pool belong to my family. It's not a community center. I need you to get out now. Her smile faded, replaced by a look of wounded indignation. Well, I never. Such hostility. She moved slowly toward the pool steps, dripping water everywhere, like it was her right to ruin my property. This is your final warning, Carol, I said, my patience running out. Do not set foot on my property again. Do you understand me? She glared at me. Oh, I understand you perfectly, she hissed. I watched her stomp away, my heart racing with anger. This wasn't just trespassing. It was a declaration of war. She thought she could take what was mine, and I wasn't going to let it happen. I didn't see her for a while after that, but a few weeks later, we got a lawsuit. Carol was claiming that I had tried to poison her with pool chemicals, that I had caused her severe emotional distress, and she demanded that I pay for her medical bills, pain and suffering, and a list of other exaggerated damages. It was pure fiction. I needed help. So, I called in the big guns. Jess Hernandez, a shark, a legal strategist. She didn't play games, and she didn't back down. We filed a counterclaim against Carol. Trespassing, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And we subpoenaed her financial records. We weren't just defending ourselves, we were going to make her life miserable. That's when we started to dig into Carol's past. And what we found was shocking. She wasn't from Oak Haven. She had moved here from Arizona, before that Florida, before that Nevada. And each time she moved, she took on a new identity. In one town, she was a retired nurse. In another, the widow of a wealthy oil man. But here, she was pretending to be the heir to a modest textile fortune. It was all a lie, a carefully constructed persona, and she'd been doing it for years. She was a professional victim-con artist, and she was trying to take what was mine. We kept digging. Frank, my private investigator, found even darker stuff. Carol's husband, Walter Albright, had died in a car accident years ago. But it wasn't just a car accident. His brakes had been tampered with. The case had been investigated as a possible homicide, but they never found a suspect. And Carol had inherited a life insurance policy worth $2 million. But it didn't end there. Frank found something even more troubling. A series of cash deposits made into Carol's bank account right before she bought her house in Oak Haven. The money wasn't from any legitimate source, it looked like money laundering. The timing lined up with an art heist in Scottsdale, where several priceless paintings were stolen. Carol wasn't just a con artist, she was a criminal. And she was using me as her next target. We had her, and we had a plan to expose her once and for all. Jess set a trap. We'd offer her a fake settlement, $500,000 to make the case go away. But there was a catch. We wouldn't just offer her money. We'd hint at something much bigger, something criminal, something that would ruin her for good. And when she took the bait, that's when we got the confession. It was recorded, on video, her admitting to everything. We went to the district attorney, and with that footage, they launched a criminal investigation into Carol's past. She was arrested, and her lawsuit against us was thrown out with extreme prejudice. Her house was seized and auctioned off. And the best part? A young, successful black familia doctor and his architect husband bought it. The irony was rich. But the victory wasn't just in the money. It was in reclaiming my home, my reputation, and my peace. Then, things started to get weird again. A package arrived. Inside was an art book detailing a stolen painting, one that was worth $500,000. And the message was clear: they were watching me. The war wasn't over. It had just begun. And as I looked over my sanctuary, I knew it was only a matter of time before they came for me again. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you stand your ground? Or would you give up everything to make it stop? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think I did the right thing? Or should I have backed down? This isn't over, folks. Not by a long shot.